Hi, I'm back, and today I'm going to talk about Shaman's Crossing. I have mentioned previously that I was going to reread the Soldier Son trilogy, and I began that last month in June. I wasn't looking forward to it because I hadn't had the best memories of having read it in the past, because I read it between reading Tawny Man and the Rainwild Chronicles of the Realm of the Elderlings, because that's when it was published. But because it came after Tawny Man, which, let's face it, ends on a really exceptional high, it was more than a small letdown, because it wasn't Fitz and it wasn't to that level of astonishingly brilliant. That is not to say it's not good, because it is good. I, however, have rounded up my star rating for this book on my Goodreads review from a 3.5 to a 4. And the reason I've rounded up rather than down in the Goodreads is because the writing is actually that good. The writing, as always, is Hobb and Hobb, is beautiful. The world is set up extraordinarily well. The magic is set up really well. The intricacies of the foreign cultures coming together is done really well. It's the cultural differences that we see described, because we have some very different cultures on display. We have your main culture that Navarre is a part of, our central culture, if you like, and this is the culture that is colonising, for want of a better word, outward into previously unchallenged territory. And we have the plainsmen, who are nomadic peoples who have previously lived on plains and have developed a lifestyle that is reminiscent, but I don't think completely parallels, of the Native Americans, in that they're very tribal. There's a lot of pride, there's a lot of oral tradition, and they are very resentfully colonised by this new culture that's taken over. And they are it's not beaten, they are a downtrodden culture who are kept in sort of reservations. They have areas of land they're allowed. And then we have a new frontier where we're now dealing with forest people. And they're called specks because they have a speckled appearance. They look like they're sitting under a tree in the sun. They look dappled. And they are very aware of their connection to nature. Okay, we've got one civilization that wants to be all about advancement and industry and is working on technology, and so we want to cut down forests, and we want roads, and we want pasture, and we want all these things to develop as a culture and be civilized. And then we have a people who are very connected to their forests and are very connected to living in harmony with the world around them and changing themselves rather than their world in order to live. So these are incredibly opposed views, which, I mean, they're just never going to come to any kind of agreement, these cultures. And that's before we enter into the magics. The magics of the story are, like Realm of the Elderlings, not clearly defined. That's okay. I like my magic systems to be magic and just be there. And I'm kind of okay when stuff just happens. You're like, oh, magic. So long as it's not too previously not foreshadowed, then I'm okay. That's fine. That suits me fine. So we get in the same way as we have these very different mindsets and culture, we have a very different sense of magic. Navarre's people don't really allow that there is magic, although we get a sense through the story that his people do have a sort of magic, they're just not using it. The specks, the forest people, they have quite a vast well of magic, and their magic is very much in their being attuned to the ground, being attuned to nature, being attuned to life, if you like. And they have charms, and it can be repressed with iron. So those that are captured, those who are made tame, are collared, and they're collared with iron. So we get, again, Hobb likes these things, a theme there of being less than, being a slavery kind of happening. So there's that. Which brings me to the reason why it only got 3.5 stars. And that's because of the main character, Navarre. He's a placeholder, it feels like. There's nothing remarkable about him. His character is incredibly passive. He's very bland. And this is not the case with Fitz. And people have trouble with Fitz from Realm of the Elderlings. He's very reactive. He's not necessarily proactive. He makes some very silly decisions as a teenage boy and screws his life up many, many, many times through these poor decision-making moments. Navarre, in contrast, almost doesn't make decisions. The world just sort of happens around him. And his father sees this. Like, this is a deliberate piece of character, because other characters they not resonate, and they don't even react, because he doesn't do anything to react to. They respond to his character by wanting him to be more decisive, by trying to push him into making decisions, into showing a bit of spine, ultimately, because he's vanilla jelly. Okay, no, that's not a good example. A vanilla custard. He's a I don't really, there isn't a word for what he is. It's the opposite of charismatic and the opposite of dynamic. He's a still pond. There's just nothing, not even a pond. A pond has depth. He's a still puddle. There doesn't seem to be anything to him in his character, and yet there is clearly something about him that links him to the magics, because he, quite early in the book, does do something which he of course writes off because he's a civilized person, and we don't believe in these barbaric cultures that we are now in contact with, and their spirit dreams, travels, they're nothing. They're hallucinations. So he doesn't believe that what he does early in the book exists, that it has impact. And toward the end of the book, when we discover that yes, it's been having an impact, and yes, that's a thing that exists and has had repercussions, he still believes he's hallucinating, and he still denies any sort of responsibility or connection to the events that have happened as a result, because barbaric, what do they know? They're just wild people that live in the forest. So I'm a bit torn because it is written really beautifully. Those secondary, tertiary characters, just exceptionally well done. They're fleshed out really well. Some of them, I would love to hear the story from their perspective. They're very engaging secondary, tertiary characters. Some of the secondary characters are relations. Later in the book, we meet his cousin. She is, what shall we call her? She would be a blue stocking. She's not interested in conforming to being a wife and a mother. She wants to learn stuff and do stuff, and she's been sort of drawn into the mystical by a small corner of society, and so she's a bit of an outcast, and she's fascinating. She's wonderful to read about. Some of the people that we meet are his fellow students, because most of the story is about him being a soldier son. And as he reaches an age, he goes to the academy to learn how to be an officer, because he's a soldier son. And the people around him in the dorms, as he's in his first year, are really engaging. They all have very disparate personalities, they're all very defined, they all have strengths and weaknesses, and some of them I really like and some of them I really don't, and they're engaging. Like, that they have, what's the word I'm looking for, agency, that you can clearly see they have aims, they have goals, they're all trying to get to those things in their own way, and they're fighting the system that they're up against. So the premise, I'm talking about this all out of order, so I'm having to edit this the right way round, so forgive me if I double up on things. The premise is that Navarre, our first person POV narrator of the story, is a soldier son. Not a soldier's son, although he is a soldier's son, but because the culture has developed in such a way that their religion tells them the firstborn son of a noble is going to be the heir. He's going to inherit whatever wealth and lands and what have you have been generated. The second son is going to be a soldier. Soldier son is a role, not just a descriptor. Navarre's father was a soldier son, but he was a soldier son of a noble family. So his older brother is the heir to their family estates, and Navarre's father was a soldier. That was it. He was off. That was what he was going to be now. But he did really well in some previous wars, and the new king, who reasonably recently has inherited the throne within the last 15 years, has raised up a bunch of these noble sons, but second sons to nobility. So now these soldier sons, who all of their sons would have been soldiers, are now nobility of their own. So their firstborn sons are now heirs, and their second sons, their soldier sons, are all hitting the academy at about the same time. And this is where we see Navarre. And in being part of this new generation of these raised up nobles, has put this particular group of boys at loggerheads with the sons of old nobility. So you've got your new nobles and your old nobles. And in raising up new nobles, he's caused a lot of political divide and weakened the power of the old nobles. So there's a real definitive, clear power struggle going on, which has of course bled down into their children. So the old noble sons know what's going on. They're all very politically savvy. The new noble sons, not so much. And their first year at the academy is pretty much getting their noses rubbed in the fact that you're not actually one of us. So there's a very clear power dynamic happening, both on the adult level outside of the academy that's going on in the background, and within the ranks of the students at the academy. And a lot of the book takes place at the academy. The times where we're not at the academy is when eventful things happen in a very Hobb way. You get little action-packed plot moments and then lots of seemingly nothing where things are happening and our characters see the repercussions of things, and you see the reactions to things. So the plot sort of happens off page. But that's Hobb. If you read Hobb, you're familiar with that. And then again, we come to the last part of the book where again we're having actual events happen that Navarre is a part of. In closing, I'm hoping the experience will improve, because at the moment it's just okay, which is a bit sad, but never mind. Please tell me in the comments if you've read the series and what you found that you did or didn't like about it. Please don't tell me how it's going to go. I want to be able to look forward to it potentially getting more exciting. If you haven't read it, like anything, mileage may vary, and this may be the story for you. I don't know. Like, subscribe, do the things that YouTube likes, and with that, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll see you next time.